You are watching Political Point Magazine, where the right is right and the left, well, the left is always on the wrong side of history. Why? Because political minds want to know. So enjoy a conservative point of view. And let's talk pea soup. With tonight's top stories. Well, the Republicans were quite civil at the last GOP debate. We will analyze what went on there. And Ben Carson endorses Donald Trump. This is a real big part. It appears that Ben Carson is not out of the picture just yet. Right? And America remembers Nancy Reagan at her funeral, which Obama did not attend. And we will talk about all of this more when we take it to the phones and talk to you, the viewers. Tonight, my friends, we welcome you to another episode of Political Point Magazine. And so, my friends, now there is some things that have awakened in the news, my friends. So now before I get to the debate, though, all right, I wanna seriously talk about some things that have happened over the weekend, and my friends, it doesn't sit pretty with the American people here. But we will get into this, okay? But tonight, my friends, I want to put this first segment in my Political Point Magazine's Political Point of Vision. And so, as such, okay. Now, so I want to put this in my. So over the weekend, on Friday, Donald Trump was going to hold a rally, which was in progress. Okay, it was in progress, mind you. And now let me adjust the volume here, okay, a little bit, so we get this in quite the record fashion here. All right, but anyway, Donald Trump held a rally in Chicago, Illinois. And all of a sudden there were massive amounts of protesters starting from the outside, and then they worked their way in. Okay, now this is quite unprecedented because my friends, the protesters were not legitimate. Now, in this country, we have a right to peaceful protests, okay? But the protesters took it a little bit too far, as I will show you from the footage of Showtime's program, The Circus, who has been covering the campaign the different campaigns of all the candidates, of the Republican candidates and the Democrat candidates. But something very, very interesting about what happened on Friday, okay, and I will show you this in my political point of vision here. Here is the rally. Okay. Okay.
The situation there.
Okay, wait. But here is what happened. Right? And my friends, this gets a little brutal. All right. And but it's unmistakably.
There are hundreds, maybe even thousands of protesters on hand. The security does not have a handle on the situation here.
Tonight's rally will be postponed until another day. Thank you very much for your attention. And please go in peace.
This is becoming violent. There is pushing and shoving going on inside this arena. It is total chaos.
Donald Trump joins me.
Man, total chaos. It's, my friends, this is just not the way you conduct yourselves. Okay, now for one, there was in that protests. Now there was these protesters were strictly from MoveOn.org or the MoveOn.org organization. Okay, now this wasn't Black Lives Matter, but some people from Black Lives Matter were there, but also there were some people from Bernie Sanders supporters were there too as well. But a good majority of it were the protesters made this. The protest made this effort in Chicago, Illinois, to try to stop Trump. Okay, and they managed to shut down his rally, and which, by the way, this is not. You don't. You have the right to a peaceful protest, but you don't have the right to shut down another person's First Amendment right to free speech. So this, my friends, is quite unprecedented. MoveOn.org, by the way, is run by the billionaire, the liberal, radical billionaire George Soros, who funds the Democrats. All right. So now this is just unprecedented. All right. Now Super Tuesday's tomorrow, or Super Tuesday 3 is tomorrow, and Trump is on the path to winning a good majority of the states that are at stake. Ironically, Illinois is one of those states that is at stake there, and so it's gonna be fascinating to see. But I am on the mark now here, in line to say that I am in support. I am in support of Donald Trump now. All right, because this just makes it all the more easier, and the media just didn't cover it right. They were pointing the finger at Donald Trump, saying that he was the cause, but ironically, he wasn't the cause of this outrage. It was George Soros who put a petition out on his website, mind you, to stop Donald Trump. All right. Now, and so with that in mind, okay, it wasn't quite on the mark here. All right. But with that in mind, now we get to the last Republican debate, okay, which was it was better than the last debate. Okay, it was better than the last debate, where Cruz and Rubio teamed up on Donald Trump. All right, but this debate was quite civil, for a change. All right, but now I want to get into this debate because there were very, very important points that were brought up here. Okay, and I want to show you what the RNC chairman Reince Priebus said about everything that has been going on here. All right, but so let's see, yeah, but yeah, I want to show you what Reince Priebus said at the debate. All right, now take a look at this. All right, we have the chairman. Take a look at this. All right.
We want to welcome you. We want to welcome you to the debate of our great party, the party of equality, the party of freedom, the party of opportunity. And I want to get something really clear, because there's been a lot of talk about this. This party is going to support the nominee, whoever that is, 100%. There's no question about that. What I want to do is explain that what's happening here is that these candidates are competing to see who is going to be the nominee that joins the Republican National Committee, the Republican Party, all of you, the conservatives, the Tea Party, our entire wonderful group of people that are going to come together and unify in Cleveland and get behind that nominee. That's what we do as Republicans. Can you at least agree with me, without question, that any one of these four gentlemen would be a world better than Hillary Clinton or a socialist and Bernie Sanders? We have something to fight for. We're in a battle for freedom in this country. It's the same battle that founded this country, the same battle that James Madison reaffirmed in the Bill of Rights, the same battle that founded our party, and here we are again, together. And that's where we're going to end up, together. So thank you very much. God bless you, and let's have a great debate.
And as you can see, you heard the chairman. You heard the chairman. Okay, we are going to support the Republican nominee, whoever it may be, even if it's Donald Trump. Okay, so we are not. In a sense, he is saying that we are not fractured. We are not fractured. We're going to get behind that nominee, even if it's Donald Trump. Donald Trump, right now, is the strongest candidate. All right, but I want to get into the more. But here's the debate.
Are going out to the polls and they're voting. They're voting out of enthusiasm. They're voting out of love. Some of these people, frankly, have never voted before. 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, never voted before. We're taking people from the Democrat Party. We're taking people as independents, and they're all coming out, and the whole world is talking about it. It's very exciting. I think, frankly, the Republican establishment, or whatever you want to call it, should embrace what's happening. We're having millions of extra people join. We are going to beat the Democrats. We are going to beat Hillary or whoever it may be, and we're going to beat them soundly.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's begin with jobs and the economy, which Republican voters say is the most important issue to them in this election. There have been some real differences expressed on this stage on whether trade deals have been good for the American worker. One of Mr. Trump, the frontrunner's signature issues, is ending what he calls disastrous trade deals in order to bring jobs back to America. Governor Kasich, I'd like to start with you. You've been a strong advocate for these trade deals over the years. Critics say these deals are great for corporate America's bottom line, but have cost the U.S. at least 1 million jobs. How do you respond to the criticism that you've been catering to boardrooms at the expense of the American middle class?
Well, Jake, I grew up in a blue-collar family, and the simple fact of the matter is that, of course, we're sensitive about trade. 1 out of 5 Americans work in a job connected to trade. 38 million Americans are connected to it. But my position has always been we want to have free trade, but fair trade. And I've been arguing all along that it is absolutely critical that when other countries break those agreements, we don't turn the process over to some international bureaucrat who comes back a couple years later and says, oh, America was right and people are out of work. The fact of the matter is we have to have an expedited process. When people cheat, when countries cheat and they take advantage of us, we need to blow the whistle. And as President of the United States, I absolutely will blow the whistle and begin to stand up for the American worker. But we don't want to lock the doors and pull down the blinds and leave the world, because frankly, if we do that, prices will go up, people will buy less, other people will be out of work, and we don't want to see that happen. Trade, though, has to be balanced, and we have to make sure that when we see a violation, like some country that dumping their products into this country, believe me, as president, I will stand up and I will shut down those imports because they are a violation of the agreement we have, and the American worker expects us to stand up. And Jake, my family worked in the steel industry, not with a white collar. I understand their plight.
Mr. Trump, your critics say your campaign platform is inconsistent with how you run your businesses, noting that you've brought in foreign workers instead of hiring Americans, and your companies manufacture clothing in China and Mexico. Why should voters trust that you will run the country differently from how you run your businesses?
Because nobody knows the system better than me. I know the H-1B, I know the H-2B. Nobody knows it better than me. I'm a businessman. These are laws, these are regulations, these are rules. We're allowed to do it. And frankly, because of the devaluations that other countries, their monetary devaluations that other countries are constantly doing and brilliantly doing against us, it's very, very hard for our companies in this country, to compete. So I will take advantage of it. They're the laws, but I'm the one that knows how to change it. Nobody else on this dais knows how to change it like I do, believe me.
Senator Rubio, last October you said that you're, quote, generally very much in favor of free trade. More recently, you've backed away from your support of some trade deals. If elected, will you support free trade deals even if it means the inevitable loss of U.S. jobs?
No, I support free trade deals that are good for America. We're 5% of the world's population. If all we do is sell things to each other, we can only sell to 5% of the people on Earth. We have to have access to the hundreds of millions of people in the world today who can afford to buy things. The problem is we're a low tariff country. To import something into the United States is not very expensive. But many of these countries we can't export to because their tariffs are too high. And so I'm in favor of deals that allow us to bring down those tariffs so that America can sell things to all these people around the world. There are good trade deals and there are bad ones. So for example, here in Florida we have benefited greatly from the free trade deal with Colombia. It's allowed flower exporters to come into the United States, but it's created jobs for hundreds of people who are now delivering those flowers and working in that industry. We have a surplus with Colombia. On the other hand, you've seen trade deals like in Mexico that have been less than promising in some aspects, better in others. Bottom line is, I believe that America, if given access to foreign markets, our workers are the most productive in the world, our people are the most innovative on this planet. If it is a free and fair trade deal, we can compete against anyone in the world, and we need to in the 21st century.
Senator Cruz, you were a supporter of the Pacific trade deal, but after taking some heat from conservatives, you changed your position. Why should these voters who don't like these trade deals trust that you will fight for them all the time and not just in election years?
Actually, that's incorrect. There are two different agreements. There's TPA and TPP. I oppose TPP and have always opposed TPP, which is what you asked about. And when it comes to trade, look, free trade, when we open up foreign markets, helps Americans, but we're getting killed in international trade right now. And we're getting killed because we have an administration that doesn't look out for American workers, and jobs are going overseas. We're driving jobs overseas. And the people who are losing out are manufacturing jobs, or the steel industry, or the auto industry. But I'll tell you who else is going to be losing out, which is the service industry. This Obama administration is negotiating the Trade and Services Agreement, which is another treaty to allow services to come in and take jobs from Americans as well. And you got to understand, trade and immigration are interwoven, and they're hurting the working men and women of this country. So the question is, what's the solution? It's easy to talk about the problems, but do you have a solution to fix it? And I think the solution is several things. Number one, we need to negotiate trade deals protecting American workers first, not the corporate boardroom. Number two, we need to lift the regulations on American businesses here so we see jobs coming back. And number three, we need a tax plan like the tax plan I've introduced that will not tax exports and that will tax imports, and that will bring millions of high-paying jobs back to America.
Let's talk more about how American jobs are impacted by foreign workers. Let's go to Stephen Dinan of the Washington Times. Stephen.
Senator Rubio, in late 2014, Disney laid off 250 tech workers in Orlando, replacing many of them with foreign workers. Some of the Americans even had to train their own replacements. You support increasing the H-1B visa program that made it possible to bring in these foreign workers. Doesn't this program take jobs away from Americans?
If it's being abused the way Disney did. Understand that program, it is illegal now under that program to use it to replace American workers. Under that program, you have to prove not only that you're not replacing Americans, but that you've tried to hire Americans. And if a company is caught abusing that process, they should never be allowed to use it again. The second problem with the current structure of the program that people perhaps don't understand is a lot of these companies are not directly hiring employees from abroad. They are hiring a consulting company like Tata, for example, out of India. That company then hoards up all of these visas. They hire workers, you hire Disney or some other company hires this company. What they're basically doing is they are insourcing an outsourcing system. They are bringing in workers from abroad that are not direct employees of a Disney or someone else. They're employees of this consulting business. And what I argue is that no consulting business such as that should be allowed to hoard up all of these visas, that the visa should only be available for companies to use directly to hire workers, and that we should be stricter in how we enforce it. It is illegal now. It is a violation of the law now to use that program to replace Americans. And if a company is caught doing that, whether it be Disney or anyone else, they should be barred from using the program in the future.
Senator Rubio, real quick follow-up on this. In the context of illegal immigration, you've called for basically putting off any legalization process until we get the border secured.
Correct.
Why not call for a pause on H-1Bs until those abuses you've talked about are solved?
Well, first, I think I'd be open to it if it takes a pause, but I don't think it takes a pause to enforce the actual law. What they're doing is, if they are in fact using that program to replace an American, if there's an American working at Disney, and they bring someone from another country and using H-1B to replace their direct job, that is in violation of the law. And what I'm explaining to you is what they're doing now is they're eliminating the job, they're outsourcing the entire tech division to a consulting company. They're making the argument that we didn't replace you, we just replaced the whole unit by hiring a company to do it instead. And that company that they're hiring is bringing their workers from abroad. It is a loophole they have figured out that we need to close so they can no longer continue to do it that way.
Governor Kasich, I want to come to you next. Mr. Trump says that illegal immigration is producing, quote, lower wages and higher unemployment for U.S. workers. He's calling for a pause on green cards issued to foreign workers. Wouldn't that help workers in the U.S.?
Well, look, I believe in immigration, but it has to be controlled. The simple fact of the matter is I wouldn't be standing here. I'd be, maybe running for president of Croatia if we didn't have immigration. Immigration is something that brings youth and vibrance and energy to our country, but we clearly have to control our borders. We can't have people just walking in. Look, we lock our doors at night in our homes, and the country has to be able to lock its doors as well. So I have a comprehensive plan to deal with this problem of immigration. I would say we have to absolutely finish the wall and guard the border. And if anybody were to come in after that, they're going to have to go back. No excuses, because we can't continue this problem. I think we ought to have a guest worker program where people come in, work, and go home. And I think at the same time, for the 11.5 million who are here, then in my view, if they have not committed a crime since they've been here, they get a path to legalization, not to citizenship. I believe that that program can pass the Congress in the first 100 days. But let's not lose sight of the fact that the whole key to the future of America is strong economic growth with common sense regulation, lower taxes, and a balanced budget. We can have a rising tide that lifts all the workers in America, all the people who are citizens of America, if we'll just follow the formula that works that I used in Washington, and guess what? I've used in Ohio to grow over 400 private sector jobs since I've been governor.
Mr. Trump, I do want to come to you. Will you also, in your answer, address how long you think that pause would be and what that pause would look like? How broad
well,
it would
first
be?
of all, I think, and I know the H-1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it. Very importantly, the Disney workers endorsed me, as you probably read, and I got a full endorsement because they're the ones that said, and they had a news conference, and they said he's the only one that's going to be able to fix it, because it is a mess. I think for a period of a year to 2 years, we have to look back and we have to see, just to answer the second part of your question, where we are, where we stand, what's going on. We have to sort of take a strong, good, hard look and come up with plans that work. And we're rushing into things, and we're leading with the chin. We're leading with people that don't know what they're doing in terms of our leadership. I would say a minimum of 1 year, maybe 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Senator Cruz, I want to bring you in very quickly on this. The United States averages about 1 million new permanent legal immigrants a year and hundreds of thousands more guest workers. What should the right level be?
Well, we need to redefine our legal immigration system so that it meets the needs of the American economy. Right now, we're bringing in far too many low-skilled workers. What that is doing is driving down the wages of hard-working Americans. Our system isn't working, and then on top of that, we've got a system that is allowing in millions of people to be here illegally. And the answer to that, I've laid out a very, very detailed immigration plan on my website. We're going to build a wall, triple the Border Patrol. We're going to end sanctuary cities, and let me tell you how we're going to do that. We're going to cut off federal taxpayer funds to any city that defies federal immigration law. We're going to end welfare benefits for anyone who is here illegally. And the thing to understand, Stephen, we can solve these problems. It's not that we don't know how to do it. It's that we're lacking the political will. Neither of the parties in Washington wants to do this. The Democrats support illegal immigration because they view those illegal immigrants as potential voters, and far too many of the Republicans are doing the bidding of Wall Street and the special interest, and they view it as cheap labor. We need instead leadership that works for the working men and women of this country. We need an immigration system that takes care of the jobs of the working men and women of this country.
Senator Rubio, did you want to weigh in?
Well, I would add, when you talk about the millions of green cards that are coming in, those are actually workers at all. They're just coming in primarily based on family connection. And let me tell you, by the time my parents came in 1956, I acknowledge that my parents came to the U.S. on a family-based system. The problem is nothing looks like it did 60 years ago. The 21st century economy simply is not creating enough jobs for people that don't have skills. When my parents came, they had a very limited education. My father stopped going to school when he was 9 years old because his mother died, and he had to work, and he would work the next 70 years of his life and never go back to school. And I'm grateful every day that America welcomed them. But today, in the 21st century, 60 years later, finding jobs when you don't have skills is very difficult. We need to move to a merit-based system of immigration, not just on H-1B, particularly on green cards. The primary criteria for bringing someone from abroad in the 21st century should be, what skills do you have, what business are you going to open, what investment are you going to make, or what job are you going to be able to do when you arrive in the United States?
Education obviously plays a large role when it comes to jobs in the economy. The United States has long been falling behind others in the industrialized world. American students currently rank 27th out of 34 countries in math and 17th in reading. Mr. Trump, you've called the education standards known as Common Core a disaster. What are your specific objections to Common Core?
Education through Washington, D.C. I don't want that. I want local education. I want the parents, and I want all of the teachers, and I want everybody to get together around a school and to make education great. And it was very interesting. I was with Dr. Ben Carson today, who's endorsing me, by the way, tomorrow morning. And we were talking, we spoke for over an hour on education, and he has such a great handle on it. He wants competitive schools. He wants a lot of different things that are terrific, including charter schools, by the way, that the unions are fighting like crazy, but charter schools work, and they work very well. So there are a lot of things, but I'm going to have Ben very much involved with education, something that really is an expertise of his.
Okay, but just to clarify, the Common Core standards were developed by the states. Right. States and localities voluntarily adopt them, and they come up with their own curricula to meet those standards. So when you say education by Washington, D.C., what do you mean?
You're right, Jack, but it's been taken over by the federal government. It was originally supposed to be that way, and it certainly sounds better that way, but it's all been taken over now by the bureaucrats in Washington, and they are not interested in what's happening in Miami or in Florida, in many cases. Now, in some cases, they would be. But in many cases, they're more interested in their paycheck and the big bureaucracy than they are taking care of the children.
Governor Kasich, you have called opposition to Common Core hysteria. What is your response to grassroots conservatives who do not agree with you?
Well, look, all I'm in favor of in Ohio is high standards. First of all, let me tell you, I would take 125 federal education programs, put them in 4 buckets, and send them back to the states. Okay, I've been working on this for many, many years. Secondly, Jake, in our state, the state school board sets the standards, and we want high standards because we've not always had high standards, unfortunately. They set the standards, and the local school boards developed the curriculum. Not only did we have that in the law, we reasserted it in the law, and we also want parental advisors in the local school district so that, in fact, frankly, education has to be run at the school board level with a little guidance from the state. Now, on top of that, you want to talk about the 21st century and what we need to do with our kids. We need to start connecting them to the real world. We need to be training them for the jobs of the 21st century, not the jobs of 20 years ago. We need vocational education starting in the 7th grade, where kids can get that kind of education that can take them to college, but all the way through their K through 12. They ought to be connected with real world jobs. Frankly, what ought to happen is we ought to get them to pursue their God-given talents and connect them with the things that give them passion. And that's exactly what we're doing in Ohio, combined with mentoring programs to talk to kids about what their future can be. So let me be clear. Local control, obviously, high state standards, that's what it is in the state of Ohio.
So, Senator, receive Social Security benefits, and they're very interested in hearing what you candidates intend to do to keep Social Security going for future generations. Let me turn now to my colleague, Dana Bash.
Senator Rubio, you argue Americans your age must have an honest conversation about making Social Security sustainable. For people under 55, you want to raise the retirement age and also reduce benefits for wealthier Americans. So what should the new retirement age be, and how much will those benefits be cut?
Well, first of all, let me say that you're right. There are about 3 million seniors in Florida with Social Security and Medicare. One of them is my mother, who happens to be here today. I'm against any changes to Social Security that are bad for my mother. And we don't have to make any changes for them. But anyone who tells you that Social Security can stay the way it is lying. Any politician that goes around saying we don't have to do anything, all we have to do is raise a few taxes or just leave it the way it is, they're not being honest with you. Social Security will go bankrupt, and it will bankrupt country with it. So what it will require is people younger, like myself, people that are 30 years away from retirement, to accept that our Social Security is going to work differently than it did for my parents. For example, instead of retiring at 67, the way I'm supposed to retire, I'd have to retire at 68. If I were still in the Senate, I'd be one of the youngest people there. If I've made a lot of money, my Social Security benefit will not grow as fast as someone who made less money. And by the way, Medicare could very well become the option of using my Medicare benefit to buy a private plan that I like better. Medicare Advantage does that now. These are not unreasonable changes to ask of someone like myself, who is 25 or 30 years away from retirement, in exchange for leaving the program undisturbed for the people that are on it now or about to retire, and ensuring that we do not bankrupt our country and that this program still exists when my children...
Before I go a little further on this, now, you notice it was quite civil. There was no attacking one another it was all substance. But on Social Security here, at this particular section of the debate, I disagree with Rubio that we should raise the retirement age. But let's get this a little bit further here.
Senator, the question was specifics, though. You've made your plan very clear about generally what you want to do, but how high would the retirement age go, and how much would you cut those benefits?
I'm sorry I didn't answer that part. So the thing is that under my generation, someone my age would retire at 68. We would continue to allow it to increase the retirement age for future generations until it hits 70. And so my children would retire at 70. I would retire at 68. It would be a graduating scale over a period of time. But again, I'm talking about people like myself and Ted, who are 45 years old, who are years away from retirement. For people that are on it now, we don't have to change it at all. If we don't do anything, we will have a debt crisis. It's not a question of if, it is a question of when. In less than 5 years, only 17% of our budget will remain discretionary. 83% of the federal budget in less than 5 years will all be spent on Medicare, Medicaid, the interest on the debt. That's it. All of it will be eaten up by that. That's a debt crisis, and it will be debilitating to our economy, and our children deserve better than to inherit a debt crisis.
Mr. Trump, you don't want to raise the retirement age, and you also don't want to cut benefits even for wealthier Americans. But according to the Social Security Administration, unless adjustments are made, Social Security is projected to run out of money within 20 years. So specifically, what would you do to stop that from happening?
Well, first of all, I want you to understand that the Democrats, and I've watched them very intensely, even though it's a very, very boring thing to watch, that the Democrats are doing nothing with Social Security. They're leaving it the way it is. In fact, they want to increase it. They want to actually give more. And that's what we're up against, and whether we like it or not, that is what we're up against. I will do everything within my power not to touch Social Security, to leave it the way it is, to make this country rich again, to bring back our jobs, to get rid of deficits, to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, which is rampant in this country, rampant, totally rampant. And it's my absolute intention to leave Social Security the way it is, not increase the age, and to leave it as is. You have 22 years. You have a long time to go. It's not long in terms of what we're talking about, but it's still a long time to go. And I want to leave Social Security as is. I want to make our country rich again so we can afford it. I want to bring back our jobs. I want to do things that will make us, that will bring back GDP. I mean, as an example, GDP was zero, essentially, for the last 2 quarters. If that ever happened in China, you would have had a depression like nobody's ever seen before. They go down to 7%, 8%, and it's a national tragedy. We're at zero. We're not doing anything. We've lost our jobs. We've lost everything. We're losing everything. Our jobs are gone. Our businesses are being taken out of the country. I want to make America great again, and I want to leave Social Security as is. We're going to get rid of waste, fraud, abuse, and bring back business.
Senator Rubio, I know you want to get in. Hang on one second. I just want to follow up with Mr. Trump. You're talking about waste, fraud, and abuse, but an independent bipartisan organization, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, says improper payments, like you're talking about, that would only save about $3 billion. But it would take $150 billion to make Social Security solvent. So how would you find that under $147 billion?
Because they don't cover most of the subjects. We're the policemen of the world. We take care of the entire world. We're going to have a stronger military, much stronger. Our military is depleted, but we take care of Germany. We take care of Saudi Arabia. We take care of Japan. We take care of South Korea. Every time this maniac from North Korea does anything, we immediately send our ships. We get virtually nothing. We have 28,000 soldiers on the line, on the border between North and South Korea. We have so many places. Saudi Arabia was making $1 billion a day, and we were getting virtually nothing to protect them. We are going to be in a different world. We're going to negotiate real deals now, and we're going to bring the wealth back to our country. We owe $19 trillion. We're going to bring wealth back to our country.
Senator Rubio, will that be enough to save Social Security?
No, and I think you've outlined why. The numbers don't add up. You know, when I ran for the Senate in 2010, I came out one day and said we're going to have to make changes to Social Security, and everyone said that's the end of your campaign. In Florida, you can't talk about that. But people know that it's the truth here in Florida. Fraud is not enough. Certainly, let's wipe out the fraud, but as you said, it won't add up. You already gave those numbers. The second point is on foreign aid. I hear that all the time as well. I'm against any sort of wasting of money on foreign aid, but it's less than 1% of our federal budget. The numbers don't add up. The bottom line is we can't just continue to tiptoe around this and throw out things like I'm going to get a fraud and abuse. Let's get rid of fraud. Let's get rid of abuse. Let's be more careful about how we spend foreign aid. But you still have hundreds of billions of dollars of deficit that you're going to have to make up. And here's the thing, if we do not do it, we will have a debt crisis, not to mention a crisis in Social Security and Medicare. Both parties have taken far too long to deal with it. It is one of the major issues confronting America. It's barely been asked in any of these debates, and we better deal with it, or we're going to have to explain to our children why they inherited this disaster.
Mr. Trump, Senator Rubio says your numbers don't add up. What's your response? Senator Rubio says that your numbers don't add up. What's your response, Mr. Trump?
Well, I don't know if you're saying that. Look, I'm just saying very simply, we have a country that I've never seen anything like it. I've been going over budgets and looking at budgets. We don't bid things out. We don't bid out, as an example, the drug industry, pharmaceutical industry. They don't go out to bid. They just pay almost as if you walk into a drugstore. That's what they're paying. And the reason is they have a fantastic lobby. Congressmen, they have great power, and they don't bid out. The military is never properly bid. When we go out to military bids, it's not properly bid. And the people that really sell us the product are oftentimes the product we don't want, only because that particular company has political juice, okay? I'm self-funding my campaign. Nobody's going to be taking care of me. I don't want anybody's money. I will tell you something. We're going to go out to bid in virtually every different facet of our government. We're going to save a fortune.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Senator Cruz, you advocate allowing younger workers to put some of their Social Security taxes into personal accounts. What do you say to critics who say that market volatility means that this is a disastrous proposal?
Well, number one, we need to see responsibility. Social Security right now is careening towards insolvency, and it's irresponsible, and any politician that doesn't step forward and address it is not being a real leader. We need to see political courage to take this on and save and strengthen Social Security. And as president, what I will do for seniors, for anyone at or near retirement, there will be no changes whatsoever. Every benefit will be protected to the letter. But for younger workers, we need to gradually raise the retirement age. For younger workers, we need to change the rate of growth of benefits so it matches inflation instead of exceeding inflation. And as you noted, Dana, we need to have for younger workers that a portion of your tax payments are in personal accounts, like a 401k that you own, that you control, that you can pass on to your kids and grandkids. And one of the...
Now, that, my friends, is a solution there. All right, but you know, and I might add to that President George W. Bush had back in 2007, okay, when the Democrats controlled the Congress, by the way, with that nonsense, okay, President George W. Bush actually had that kind of a proposal to save Social Security. All right. Now, it was a proposal that he proposed to the Congress to save Social Security by having workers, you know, because he mentioned something to the extent that there were less workers paying into the system. Okay, but now there's less workers now paying into the system than there were over 40 years ago. But now, what he proposed was have our workers take a percentage of their Social Security taxes and put it in a personal retirement account. Okay. Now, it is a system that is working in Texas. All right. And it comes as no surprise that Ted Cruz would propose a similar proposal. All right. Now, I am all for that. Okay. And one of the things that Trump and Rubio didn't mention is that the politicians have been taking from the Social Security Trust Fund. So therefore, it is not solvent. And it's going to go bankrupt. Okay, so we do have a crisis on our hands if something isn't done to make Social Security better. And I agree with Trump that we need to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse too. but we need to have a system that creates jobs so people are paying into the system. All right. But, okay, and I don't agree that we need to raise the retirement age. I don't think that's a solution. I mean, what's that solve if Social Security is going to go bankrupt and you have to wait another 5 years before you retire? You know, that's ridiculous. You know, okay, raising the retirement age doesn't cut it for me. All right, but anyhow, okay, there was a huge announcement. Okay, now there was a huge announcement. Okay, that Trump announced that at the debate about Ben Carson. All right, now Ben Carson has endorsed Donald Trump. All right, and we get right into that, my friends. Okay, we get right into that. Take a look at this.
Rome, and I think it's something, frankly, that the Republican Party needed. And today is something very, very special because Dr. Ben Carson was respected by everybody. Everybody wanted his endorsement, and everybody loves him and truly, truly admires what he's done. His life has been an incredible life. It's been a awe-inspiring life. And I just want to tell you that having his support really, I think it adds just total credence to what I'm trying to do and to what we're all trying to do. So I just want to introduce Dr. Ben Carson, special person, special man. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you, Donald. And you know, this whole process, getting involved in the political process, was something that I never particularly intended to do. But, you know, I listened to the people, and it was really all about the people, and it continues to be all about the people. You know, it's not about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. It's about the people of America. And what I have been seeing recently is political operatives and parties once again trying to assert themselves and trying to thwart the will of the people. I find that is an extraordinarily dangerous place to be right now. And, you know, I want the voice of the people to be heard. I want the political process to play out in the way that it should play out. And, you know, I think the Republican Party particularly would be very wise not to adopt let's stop this guy and let's promote this guy policy, but rather start thinking about what are the things that are going to be helpful for America. Right now, you know, we're in a process of going off the deep end. We're going off the cliff. We're fiscally irresponsible. We're hating each other. We're destroying ourselves. A house divided against itself cannot stand. We're failing to take a leadership position on the world stage. Now, some people said, well, why would you get behind a man like Donald Trump? I'll tell you why. First of all, I've come to know Donald Trump over the last few years. He is actually a very intelligent man who cares deeply about America. There are two different Donald Trumps. There's the one you see on the stage, and there's the one who's very cerebral, sits there and considers things very carefully. You can have a very good conversation with him. That's the Donald Trump that you're going to start seeing more and more of right now. And some people said, but, well, you know, he said terrible things about you. How can you support him? Well, first of all, we buried the hatchet. That was political stuff. And, you know, that happens in American politics. The politics of personal destruction, all that, is not something that I particularly believe in or anything that I get involved in. But I do recognize that it is a part of the process. We move on because it's not about me. It's not about Mr. Trump. It's about America. And this is what we have to be thinking about. I have found in talking with him that you know, there's a lot more alignment philosophically and spiritually than I ever thought that there was. And he will speak to that. But, you know, that
actually surprised me more than anything, because I do recognize how a person's image can be greatly distorted, having been the victim of that. I probably understand it better than anybody. And I think as the American people who we are focusing on, as they begin to see the real individual there, and those who are helping that individual, I think we're going to be comforted as a nation. You know, we have to start working together. We cannot allow the agents of division to continue to separate us. As a nation, our strength is our unity. And we just have to sort of ignore those people who are always trying to stir up strife. And I'm appealing to some degree to the media as well. You know, you're part of America too, and should be interested in strengthening our nation, not in creating divisions, not in creating conflicts all the time. If we start having that American attitude, that American spirit that made us great, that took us to the pinnacle in no time at all, believe me, everybody will benefit from that. We're also talking about how can we make America a place that's successful for everybody. You know, we have 330 million people. We're going to be competing with China with 1.4 billion, India 1.1 billion. We have to develop all of our people. You know, the people who are the downtrodden in our society, we're not doing those people any favor by patting them on the head and saying, there, you poor little thing, I'm going to take care of all your needs. What we need to be doing instead is concentrating on mechanisms to allow those people to climb out of a state of dependency and become part of the strength and fabric of this nation. That's what America is about. It's not about dependency. And it certainly isn't about socialism. You know, socialism is seen as the panacea by some who don't really understand it. I think a lot of young people think socialism is just being concerned about other people. That's not what it is. You know, it's cradle-to-grave government. And you let them take care of you, but you give them all of your money, you give them control of your life. They all end up looking the same way. A small group of elites at the top controlling everything, a rapidly diminishing middle class, and a vastly expanded dependent class. That is not what made America great. Donald Trump talks a lot about making America great, but it's not just talk, he means it. I'm going to be helping him. Others are going to be helping him. You know, one of the things that I've discovered in this country is we have some incredibly smart people. None of us knows everything. But when we begin to use those smart people effectively to accomplish the goals of America, you're going to see us once again begin to ascend to the pinnacle, to a much higher pinnacle than we've ever achieved before, and that's where America should be. Thank you so much.
That, my friends, is Ben Carson, who endorsed Donald Trump. And my friends, I agree with him. You know, Donald Trump is actually the strongest candidate that we have. All right, and we are actually more. There's more, as Ben Carson said. There's more in alignment with Donald Trump than he thought. And as you know, we here on Political Point have been supporting Ben Carson, and now with this endorsement of Donald Trump, I am casting my support for Donald Trump. All right, and so with that, my friends, that means that with this coming together, that means that Ben Carson, if Donald Trump gets the nomination and then goes on to win the presidency, Ben Carson will have a very, very important role in the administration. So that means Ben Carson is not out of the picture entirely. Ben Carson is a major influence. And so he will have, and I've been thinking a lot about this. Okay, I've been thinking a lot about this. Maybe, Trump should get the nomination, and then Carson could be either VP or Secretary of Health and Human Services, or maybe even education, But and then VP could be Ted Cruz or Carly Fiorina, or Carly Fiorina could be Secretary of the Treasury. We could abolish the IRS, and we could have, those, everybody, and Chris Christie endorsed Donald Trump too, and then Chris Christie could be Attorney General, and then he could prosecute Hillary. That, we will have the whole cabinet coming together here, and Trump said that he would eliminate the Department of Education, so we wouldn't need an education secretary. Education should be left up, should be localized, should be set for the states, high standards for the states, kind of like No Child Left Behind was, but anyhow, I want to move on, and this is going to go into the last words for the night too as well. But I want to move on to remembering our beloved Nancy Reagan, okay, who was definitely deserves our praise, our prayers. The Reagan family, and so I'm going to show this, and this is going to go into the last words for the night. But I'm going to show, but I want to also show that that there was an alignment in here, okay, with remembering Nancy Reagan here. If you take a look at this right here, okay, look, we have a kind of like a Mount Rushmore of first ladies here. Okay, we have there's President George W. Bush. Okay, but next to him, to his right is Michelle Obama. Okay, and then on the other side of George W. Bush is Laura Bush. Okay, former first lady, and then next to her is Rosalind Carter. Okay, so we sort of have like a Mount Rushmore of first ladies here. Okay. Oh yeah. Rosalind Carter. Okay. Oh wait. No. That's Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry. But no, there was Michelle Obama, Laura Bush, Hillary Clinton, and Rosalind Carter. Okay. All in the same row, right there. Okay. So we have like sort of a Mount Rushmore of first ladies there. Okay, but I'm gonna let this play out here. Okay, okay, definitely want to show this. Okay, oops, sorry about that. Okay, but I definitely want to show this here. Okay, so here we go. Okay.
I am the resurrection and the life, saith the Lord. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth, and though this body be destroyed, yet shall I see God, whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not as a stranger. For none of us liveth to himself, and no man dieth to himself. For if we live unto the Lord, and if we die unto the Lord. Whether we live therefore or die, we are the Lord's. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord. Even so saith the Spirit, for they rest from their labors.
see the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. I've seen him in the watchfires of 100 circling camps. They have builded him an altar in the evening dews and damps. I can read his righteous by the dim and flaring lamps. His day is marching on. Glory, hallelujah, glory, glory, hallelujah, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea, with the glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. As he and holy and has died to make men free, while God is marching on. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Glory,
of her life. She obtains wool.
All right, my friends, I want to take some time now to remember Nancy Reagan. All right, now, now I want to take some time to reflect on things and what I couldn't put into the show for you. Okay, but I have some stuff put together from the funeral that I wanted to show you in the show, but I didn't have time when I broadcast it. So I wanted to put up this little segment for you, and just to show you how very majorly important this was. All right, because now what I saw from the funeral, and it is very important to note, and it's very crucial. Now I mentioned that there was a kind of like a a Mount Rushmore of first ladies at the funeral there. Okay, and I